What is up, everybody, and welcome back to 2 Times the Grind, and welcome to episode 49. I was umming and ahhing before we started the intro of whether or not this was episode 48 or 49. I feel like it's a consistent battle.
Yeah, it is.
Me and you have when we get up here and we're just about to start, and we go, wait, is it? And we always like kind of like an episode behind or just a little bit off, and then we have to confirm and like, no, oh, it's this episode.
It messed us up because last time we were saying we're excited to get to 50.
Yeah.
And because we were saying that, I think in your brain, you convinced yourself it was 49.
I had convinced myself it was 49, but I'm glad that it's not, because it wasn't episode 49 last time, because episode 50 is going to be nice to have like on camera. And sorry everybody for no camera this week. I have been struggling with a really bad migraine for the past 7-8 days. Unfortunately, it's a really bad one. I'm just about getting over it. It's still there, just like a little bit of a shadow in the back of my head, but it's a lot better. And obviously with the broadcast coming up, bright lights right now is probably not the best thing to do. So sorry about that. But hopefully you still enjoy this week's chat and what we have to talk about. And I'm sorry that you also can't see that we are actually drinking this week our first pumpkin spice cold brew of the season. Aren't we, babes?
Basic.
So basic, but just
little treat,
why not?
Treat.
Why
it's
not?
a rainy day here in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Gotta give a big shout out to the comment section of our podcast.
Yes.
We've been really packed, so we've been struggling a bit. A lot.
We do, by the way, we do actually, this is the sad thing. I actually do read all of your comments, like every single one of them. The replies and likes have been a little bit slow on our end just because of how busy we've been recently. But I just want to make sure everyone knows I am reading every single one. So,
well, what I need to do, because you're usually the one who replies to people. Most I know you sign it when you reply.
If it's a specific reply, I'll sign it. But sometimes
I need to get on my computer and my phone and actually get on our profile.
Get your ass on the comments and
as well.
Start talking
I read them
people.
all, but then I'm like, I don't know what account I'm in. I'm sure you guys
that's actually one. Honestly, this sounds so stupid. I love how I'm still looking at the camera.
I know,
I'm looking at the camera, by the way.
When you said this is episode 49, I turned and smiled at the camera, even though the camera's not on. We are recording in our usual spot, to be fair.
We are smiling at you guys, just to let you know. But what is actually quite funny is one of the reasons why I have been slacking recently is because I'm not on the 2 Times the Grind account when I'm looking through the comments. I'm on my account.
That's the same with me,
And I don't want to reply on my account. I'd like to reply on the podcast account. So I'm often reading the comments on mine and I'm like, oh, well, I can't comment or like back because I'm on my account. And the reason why I haven't been on the 2 Times the Grind account is because obviously we have Fern. Fern has been a fantastic addition to our podcast life.
We say it once an episode.
Killing it. Absolutely killing the editing game. And just really making a huge difference for us. But because he's on the podcast account, I don't want to, like, if I'm, Fern will laugh at this, I'll tell you that. If I'm on the podcast account watching weird ass YouTube videos that I watch on my normal one, like really weird things about crime.
He's seeing you just look up like food ASMR
videos. Crime, horror game walkthroughs. Last night I was watching a golf horror game where you're on the back nine at night getting jump scared by ghosts. Just God. Weird stuff. Like, I'm just thinking to myself, I ain't having fun really knowing what I watch. It's just weird stuff. Because I
does anyone else have
things.
like 8 Google accounts?
8 Google?
Do you?
Do I have 8? No, I don't have 8.
I have like, you know what I think it is? I think it's just because I have so many different emails for different things, like, personal, professional, yada, yada, yada. There's my YouTube, there's my, you know what I'm saying? And
speaking of, where's that gone?
It'll be back.
That's me.
It'll be back.
That's on me.
No, but I guess so that makes sense. It just clicked in my brain because that's the reason why. Because I have so many different emails, which then they turn into YouTube accounts.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's
part of the reason why I don't reply on my account, because I don't actually know which one I'm signed into on that day.
Regardless of what it is, we are going to start actually.
Shout out to the comment section.
Yeah, we read it all. We love it. And we appreciate you so much. It's awesome. Hope you guys had a really good week. Let us know in the comments section what you've been up to this week. What have you guys been doing? We've been running around like headless chickens preparing for LAN. An event week for us is always jam-packed. And you know, it's actually quite funny because we're going to get into kind of the preparation behind this part of the season as well, because it is a little bit different from, I would say, other parts of the season. But it's funny, isn't it? Because like actually this week is more stressful, I would say, than even going to LAN.
Yeah,
like honestly, thinking about the preparation.
Honestly, for me, I feel like I'm stressed until Wednesday. Like, you know, then once I got on the flight, it's like, all right, we're going.
What will be, will be.
We're going. Prep is done. I'm packed. Even though I usually pack for me, but I'm still stressed about packing.
I pack for you.
Yeah, it's
our little routine. The hard thing, funny.
It is.
You stand there, and I say, right, stand there, and I hold things up for him. I go, this? You want this? Do you want this? And I like walk around because I know where everything is. I've watched everything, and it's a nice little routine that we have. We get you packed quick, don't we?
I'm a fan.
You're a fan of that? Yeah. I bet.
I'm just like, yeah, that's good. Yeah. Yep. Compared to what I used to do, I used to just throw everything into a suitcase and go, well, if I forgot anything, I'll buy it.
Haven't forgot anything in a while, to be honest.
Knock on wood. That's a jinx and a half.
There you go, guys. Yeah. So
we had we messed up last week, and we got to give a shout out to the comment section for correcting us.
We actually do. Well, we kind of knew we'd messed up in a way. I mean, last week was a bit of a shambles episode.
Yeah, well, because you know, we said it. We won't go into it. The weeks are short. We come back from the event. We're sick, and then we're back to it, and this and that, and oh man.
To be fair, I feel like No Org is a name I've heard used so much. I feel like it's such a Justin name, though. Well, do you know what I mean?
I mean, like they had just like announced that they were looking for an org. Like at the time of recording, they had. Yeah.
It was the LATAM region team.
Yeah.
And Justin's team. Well, Justin's team now are LVT.
Yeah.
But before that,
they're in open as well.
Yeah, and they were.
I didn't know they were in open.
No, neither did I. But yeah.
Jay and I had a talk about it. So the reason why I didn't know that they were in open, it goes back to, and again, you don't comment, goes back to they changed the format. They changed the format again on how you qualify for pool play. This tournament, I think it was only the top 6 in NA or guaranteed pool play. In the past, they've done like top 12.
Trust me, I had meetings about it this week, and I still was like trying to wrap my head around how everything's happening. Because not only that, we're doing regional playoffs too at the event.
What?
For Worlds.
For other regions?
Yes. So like, because we have the regions here, we're doing playoffs for them to qualify for Worlds as well at the same time. Instead of having them do it online back home, they're going to do it at LAN.
At this tournament?
At this tournament on the side, yeah.
On the side? Okay. I mean, you know, I'm glad the camera isn't on because my eyes are just lit up. Like, what the hell is going on?
I mean, it's not going to make a difference for you guys, but in terms of stuff. But like for them, like I don't know. I think. I mean, if you're not, I was going to say, if you're a regional team, would you not prefer that?
Oh no, you would. You would. I'm just a bit like, whoa, they're going to play an event and do that. Like that's. Yeah. Like, how's that?
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess it's just like. I mean, this is what I would say is on a lot of, like, NA are qualifying this event anyway.
Yeah, we have to qualify too. Oh,
yeah, so if you get through into the quarterfinals, you have qualified for Worlds.
I think Jay had told us that we qualify no matter what, because I think it's like the top, I don't know what it would be, qualify for Worlds placement wise, but then it goes by points. So like, even if say we didn't go to the event, and we didn't place anything, I think that we would. I don't actually 100% know this, so bear with me. But we're so high in the points list, that we would
qualify.
Because it goes like think about the teams qualify and then it goes by points.
I need to double check all that because the meeting
that's what Jay told me.
Well, I don't know. He might be correct, but I literally had a meeting a couple of days ago and I have a document that shows that it's the quarterfinals are where the qualifications lie.
Yeah. If you make it to the quarterfinals, you've qualified. Yeah. But then there's like a thing after that, I think, is what Justin told me.
Okay. But what happens if, like, for example, let's just say, like, I'm not going to use your team. I'm going to use Space Station Gaming because it's so out of the left field. But I don't want that juju on your team. Say they have a really just unbelievably terrible tournament and something terrible happens. Something goes wrong. Someone's so sick, right? Yeah. Something awful happens. Knock on wood for them. And they don't make it to the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
But then the team that made it into the quarterfinals before them, did they not qualify because Space Station have qualified?
No, they would qualify.
They would?
Yeah.
How many, this sounds ridiculous, but how many teams are going to be going to Worlds then?
I think it's 12. I think.
But if you make it to the
I really don't know.
This is what I'm saying. If you make it to the quarterfinals, that's 16 teams already in the quarterfinal position. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm
not really sure.
To be fair, I've spoken to the boys about it. We're all a little bit confused. To be honest,
I'm confused because I was talking to Justin. No offense, Jay. This info's coming from him. I'm putting him on blast here. If it's wrong, it's wrong. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he had told me how they could basically make Worlds even if they don't particularly place the best based on points. So it depends who does well, this, that. So I don't know
where that information is coming from because that's not what I have been told. Listen, however, what I will say about all of this, because now my head's spinning because this is not what I thought at all. What I will say is that I have another meeting when I land. Yeah. And you'll know. I've already told, some of my colleagues like, hey, this needs to be 100% fact check. I need to double check because I will let you know on Friday. Yeah. In the beginning of our broadcast, I will let you know exactly what the hell is happening and how it works so that everyone's on the same page. Because I do feel like before an event, sometimes it is a bit like, wait, hold on. There's like little bits of information that kind of get skewed or lost in translation. So that I will make sure that I get that because that is not what I was told. So I don't know where Jay's getting that, but there is a chance it could also be on to something where there's like the smallest little, I don't know, asterisk with something in terms of points. I don't know. But that I have a document that shows that the quarterfinals is where you qualify. And all those quarterfinals are 16 teams in those quarterfinals. There's 8 quarterfinal spots.
You know what I'm wondering if it is? I don't actually know. So there's no point in continuing to dive into it.
But it also confuses me as well.
Because it could be regional based too.
No, I know, but that's where it confuses me as well. Because if it's only 16 teams that qualify for Worlds, how do the regional playoffs work?
It's probably like 20 teams total.
Yeah.
That's my guess. Yeah, I think it's 20 teams total, and then.
But if it's 20 teams total, and you're looking at the regional teams, 1, 2, 3.
But what happens if you qualify through? This is why I'm confused.
That's what I mean.
What happens if you qualify through the regional and then you also get top 16? There'd be a free. That's why I'm assuming is like there'd be a free slot. Maybe that's where the asterisks of the points come in. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But then that's what I'm saying. There's.
It's like a slim chance.
So I suppose there is slim chances, but you don't ever want to bet on other people's performances.
No, because he did say that. He said like. Yeah, I really don't know. There's no point in continuing to dive into it because I need to.
It's got to be something. It will be something like that, and I will get it 100% fact checked.
This is the thing, and I just want to clarify this for everyone listening. Lot is obviously gets so much info that it's like we said, like you have to like deep dive into this stuff to understand the rules sometimes. Yeah. For me, I'm gonna make sure I know going into the tournament, but like leading up to the tournament, I don't really care. I know that sounds really bad, but I'm going to win the tournament and that is my goal. Obviously, probably I was going to do it like today or tomorrow or Thursday. Like I will look up what we need to qualify. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But
exactly.
Like leading into it, I know it sounds bad, but I just have us at such a high standard where I don't want to say I'm not worried about it because believe it or not, I actually am. Where I do tell myself, okay, let's get this one thing off. Let's get this off here first. Definitely. Let's make sure we qualify.
Small goals.
Exactly, small goals, but I just it's just not something that I'm gonna look up as soon as the rules are announced. I know that sounds a bit crazy, but
I don't think it is crazy. And I think in the position that you're in, where you are top of the food chain, alongside.
I know.
Just spitting facts here.
You're speaking on.
I'd say the same thing I'd say the exact same thing to Space Station Gaming.
Yeah, Optic, of course.
You're at the top of where that shouldn't be a concern.
We've been a consistent top team.
Exactly.
To where we can,
it shouldn't be a concon
to get top 16.
No, that's what I'm saying. And so it's not crazy.
Never know though.
No, that's what I'm saying. You never.
Halo Infinite. Let me tell you.
You never know. But
everyone is world's greatest.
I don't think it's crazy. Is kind of where I'm getting at with that. I don't think it is crazy at all. But yeah, so I will get that fully confirmed. And the reason why it's funny, because I'm sure people are thinking like, okay, well, you're about to fight to the tournament. You don't know the full format. This thing is quite difficult to get a grasp on because we don't usually have really, really like specific qualifications. It's only until Worlds.
Yeah.
And that honestly can change. Like as you can see, the format has changed. The format has.
That's what I was going to say.
It's all being worked out. And I think, you know, we usually get to the rehearsal and the event and then they tell us like what's up. And because at the end of the day, it is what it is. It doesn't change anything for me, really. You know, all it changes for me is me explaining that on a Friday to people and being like, hey, this is how it works. And as long as they have that down, by then for me, I'm cool with it.
I think for you, if you didn't do it in your prep, you know, like you didn't look it up in your prep leading up to the event.
Yeah.
Right. I think it would be really difficult because of how much stuff actually does change to where like, I mean, this is just me thinking like, you know, like how the thought process works. Like you'd start confusing previous tournament with this tournament and that tournament with this tournament. You know, I think it's good with what you're doing with the rules. You wait until like right before to be like, okay, so this is 100% how it is. Boom, locked in. You know?
I look at it all the time.
Yeah. No, but that's what I'm saying. But you would like confuse it. If you didn't get that 100% confirmation,
correct, yes.
We've had 4 different format changes.
I know. And that's why, I know it sounds silly, but like you said, for me in my head, I see something, for example, me seeing like, I saw the information that I had been given on my giant document that I have with everything, where the qualification edge lies. I see that, knowing that there's also qualification matches happening regionally, thinking, okay, need to definitely figure out how that works implemented into the 16 that are going to qualify. How does that work? You know, HCS points, otherwise what the hell are HCS points for? That kind of thing. It's just like, for me, I'm like, right, okay, I have questions that need answered, but I need them answered to the absolute T. Like I know what I want to find out. But like you said, for me, it's like
confirmation.
I need confirmation, 100%. But I need confirmation that is 100% accurate. So that when I put that in my head, that's what's in my head. If that makes any sense.
Makes perfect sense.
Because there's a lot I have to think about on the weekend, and I just want to make sure that I'm saying the right stuff, especially important things like a format. It's pretty important. But yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting weekend. There's a lot on the line for a lot of teams on the weekend, not just like placements of the major. Obviously, placements in the major are obviously a massive concern, I think, for the top 4, top 6, honestly, to be honest.
Yeah.
But making sure you qualify for a lot of teams is such a big deal.
Yeah.
You know, being at Worlds is so important.
Especially in this game.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, I said it in previous podcasts, I'll keep saying it. I feel like this event, you want to win this event because you want the momentum heading into it.
Yes.
But I think regardless of a win or no win, Worlds is going to be a battle. Like just every team is so good that if you don't bring your game, like that team's got you, you know? So especially in this game, like that's where, you know, just what we're saying about how you really want to make sure you're there. Cause like on that weekend, anything could happen. And you're playing for a whole lot of cash.
I was asked by one of my producers in a meeting who I think is going to win. And I'm sure a few of you are laughing, being like, oh, she's going to say Faze. But I like genuinely don't think that. That's not what my initial thought is. My initial thought is, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, and that's nothing to do with you guys at all. I think I have 100% faith you can, without question. I know you can. I believe it to my core that you can. I just think given Halo Infinite, given the kind of quality of teams at the moment and what they're doing, it really is so difficult to be able to tell. And I truly believe, especially with this title and with this season, it's what team turns up with all 4 players on the same page. Yeah. When you have a team with all 4 players playing really well, I would say honestly, do I even go as far as say top 6? If you have, for example, if Native Red, all 4 of them are keyed in, locked in, they have a bloody good chance too.
Oh yeah. I mean, they went game 5 with Optic and they had a 10 kill lead in that game 5. I mean, you know,
but I think
once you do that,
if you have a team, every single player is just on fire.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to stop.
Oh yeah.
It's really hard to stop. I saw that definitely in the grand finals with you guys. I saw a switch where every single one of you were just insane in Arlington.
Making really good plays. And,
you know? So like, I just think it's about what team turns up on the day and just trying to be the team to turn up, trying to get the right mindset to be that. It's hard. It's hard competing and being full 110%, you know, every single time you get onto a stage. It's really difficult. But if you can master that, and if you are the team to do that, your odds of winning are skyrocketing.
Yeah.
But again, we have so many teams who could do that as well.
Absolutely. That was our big focus after Charlotte. Honestly, it was like, look, we have all the talent in the world here. Like, we need to like figure out how to click as a team, you know, how to play together and to play well and to be firing on all cylinders together, you know?
I agree.
And obviously, something really clicked at DreamHack Dallas where we were able to win. And then Arlington, I feel like we really kept that momentum. SLC, we just didn't really have it that weekend.
Yeah.
You know, a couple factors to it. Biggest one just being ourselves. I feel like we just let up a little bit too much on our principles, you know? You know, but you know, like we saw, like, I mean, like Sen were at the last tournament, for example. I thought they were firing all cylinders, like all 4 of them, and they were tough.
Unstoppable.
Yeah, they were tough.
Yeah,
you know, and I think you could say the same for SSG, obviously, as well.
But I think that's where you saw a slight difference with, I think, infancy of Sentinels at this point in time, and compared to the experience of Space Station Gaming. Because yes, you did see all 4 players on Sentinels firing on all cylinders. But I think the experience of SSG doing the same thing in terms of their level that they were reaching, because all 4 of them were also playing out of their minds. When you compared the two, I think the experience of being together as a team for longer and working on fundamental things on their game, not just the individual skill that we were seeing from Faze, from Sentinels, was just a little bit incomparable. And that's why you saw such a blowout, I think, in the games that they played against Sentinels. I think for you with Sentinels just played damn good. You guys just won on your A game. So like that, I think for me as well, like if you partner those two together, Sentinels playing so flipping well, like such good Halo Infinite, and you guys not quite meeting that same standard. I think that's why it wasn't a brawl. I think that's why it wasn't as much of a battle in certain senses, and I think in scoreline. And I think I expected you guys, based on how Sentinels were playing, to go game 5s together, but it just didn't happen. I think it was just 2 different scale balances.
There's always like, it's always tough because when you don't play well, like, look, do I think we had our best game on the weekend? Like, no, I don't, you know, and there's a couple of reasons for that, but biggest one is just being on ourselves. Like, I just thought we were sloppy.
Right.
But then in turn, like, you know, and you know, I know you know this, but everyone else should know it too. Like, when another team is playing great, like, they're going to make you play sloppy.
They are.
You know, like they were playing really good. I mean, not even good, great Halo that really put us on the back foot. I really thought we had a good second series with them. The second series with them,
it was a lot more.
You know, we lose a 1-0 overtime flag, or like a 2-1, something like that. We win a 50-49 Slayer.
It was an insane battle, that one. Yeah.
The big issue that we had was like the King of the Hill. Like, our, you know, we've talked about this before, but just, you know, we had to work on our map pool. King of the Hill last tournament, especially on live fire. Like, maybe you'd have to ask someone on Sen. Maybe they rank it as one of their best, but they were damn good on live fire King. It's usually one of our best. You know, that's when I know we're not playing well. It's like, I don't even think we capped a hill in one of the games.
Yeah.
And then game 4 is Recharge Ball, which has not been a strong suit for us. We kept it close. You know, we were battling through it. But again, like, if you have a bad map pool or a bad map poll and you're playing against a great team, like, they're going to make you pay for it. You know, that's something that we're really, really, really focused on heading into this event, and then obviously Worlds. I
love that, because it's nicer for us before you leave to have these conversations about how you're feeling. And I think a lot of viewers who really care about how you do at LAN and care about your team, you know, or even people who are not fans of Faze and are not fans of your team, to hear like kind of the thought process behind you coming into these tournaments. So like, I think something that was questioned was discipline for your team. And that was, I think, quite evident, especially in the Sentinel series, especially in the second one, actually. I think, you know, the first one was just a really tough match
our
for you guys.
Was terrible in the first series. We played so
there was
bad.
a lot of different factors, I think, leading to close, you having a bit of a blowout there. But the second series being so close, there were just so many times, and I think you've probably gone back multiple times and watched the VOD on it, but a lack of discipline. And I think if discipline had been had been a full force there, and it wasn't just discipline, you're right, it was efficiency. There were a couple of discipline moments I feel like that could have been reined back in, but the efficiency just wasn't there, and
you
it just wasn't.
Tie them together.
You can
discipline and efficiency. It's kind of somewhat of the same principle at the end of the day.
Well, but this is the thing. I don't think the Argyle game was a discipline problem. I think that was a more efficiency problem, because you guys were doing what you needed to do to slay. We've been through this before, I think, even on the podcast. You guys were doing what you needed to do to slay. You just couldn't pull a flag. Yeah. And at times there is an efficiency kind of question mark there. Sometimes it was not a good time to pull a flag, and they're doing a really good job at kind of getting back up and being in the right position to stop you from pulling that flag. And Argyle's quite an open base map. So that was really difficult, right? They're coming from elbow. They've also got eyes on mid and looking over you. It's really hard to pull a flag without dying. But then I think at that point, if you've got the numbers and you have them on somewhat of a stagger, even though it's not the most ideal staggered spawn, you have some type of inkling of advantage. I think that's when you need to make a call, and you know better than me, to maybe someone to die just to pull the flag. Pull the flag and throw it. Throw it bottom mid, wherever it's got to go, to be as far away from that base as possible, where like you can get out of kind of dodge at that certain point in time. There might be a death that needs to happen in order to do that.
100%.
But I think that's I don't see that so much as discipline. I just think that's efficiency and engaging in kind of the risk and reward and figuring out, okay, well, we had time to do that. We probably should have done that, or even just tried to do something like that. Yeah. But you know, I know you guys recognize that. One question I do have is something that Wes was actually discussing with me during one of our homework sessions.
Wes is Clutch, for
Clutch,
those of you
by the way.
who don't know his first name.
My incredible expert analysis guy. He's brilliant. He's one of the best. The analysis guy. He's one of the best Halo brains that we have.
Oh, he's unreal.
He, if not the best.
I think he's the best. No offense to other people.
I think his brain on this game is on every Halo game, but this game in particular is so top notch.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even like it's an offensive thing to other talent members, because I think other talent members are incredibly knowledgeable as well. Of course they are. But Wes has been a previous pro player, a national champion. By the way, he helped build Infinite. He just gets it. Yeah. You know, he really.
I think there is. I think there's no disrespect me saying that to my other crew members and family. Like I love them and they know where I'm coming from saying that, but he definitely is the brains of our team on the game. Like he is incredible. He made a really interesting point that I want to get your thoughts on, and we'll probably talk about it on broadcast, but it's actually, you know, interesting to hear what you have to say before we talk about it. He mentioned that you guys are one of the best teams to be able to adapt your play style to other teams. Yeah. So like you're able to do what needs to be done to meet what they're trying to do and totally counter that, and just you're almost like a shapeshifter basically. Yeah. But he had said that often he notices that sometimes you take too long to get into the adaptation of it, to like figure out you're the best at figuring it out and doing it, but it just takes a little bit too long sometimes. What do you make of like the comment about that and how you guys have been working on trying to maybe combat the length of time it does take you to start to realize what you have to do against a certain team?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like that's something that I've felt since Halo 5. Like from when we formed with TJ, I thought we were one of the few teams, and this is no disrespect to other teams at all. It's just a quality that I think that I really appreciated on our team. We could play fast, we could play slow, we could play in between, you know, and it's something that I think a lot of other people would get very frustrated with, where we're more picking, choosing how we're going to play versus who, and, you know, even in certain situations, what style, you know, like we're really fast on one map, then all of a sudden you get to another and we're posted up, and it's like it's a mind game with teams.
You never know what you're going to get.
Exactly. I feel like in this game in particular, we still have that quality. I think other people are. I think other teams have adapted really well to it. Like in terms of like, I wouldn't say we're the only team now. Like I feel like all the top teams are really good at it. You know, some more than others. You know, like SSG, I feel like has really adapted. They've always been really fast, and then now I feel like they've adapted to playing a little bit slower in time. So they've obviously improved on that as well. For us, we definitely have to be quicker at it. The biggest reason why is because we just have really bad. I feel like we're so talented where we just try to force our gameplay onto people, if that makes any sense. Like we try to force a style, but it's Halo Infinite. And like someone has a stalker and someone throws a spike at you.
Do you think the title makes it harder to adapt? like almost be that chameleon team.
Yeah. Well, so it's a needed, like you have to be because of the title, but where with our team, it's obviously been something we've really worked on, and I think we have improved on it, but it's definitely harder in this game because, okay, we have a style. I think we're pretty aggressive. I'd say we're a pretty aggressive team overall. We slay really heavily. Not that changes. Like, we're always probably going to be that team, but we're playing, I'll just use Streets again as an example, but like you're playing Streets and you have a kill and you want to be aggressive because you have a kill. Like, we're up numbers. But like, if they have a shotgun, they have spikes and stalker, all of a sudden that push isn't really the same push.
Makes you question actually how big is that advantage, and actually it's quite small.
Exactly. Yeah. And I feel like
in that situation,
that's just something that you dealt with in Halo 5 and other titles, but just not as severely.
Right.
We've talked about that before. I don't want to harp on the sandbox and this and that, and I certainly think we've improved the SAMP for competitive play. I'll say I certainly think that it's improved, so I'm not really complaining about it. It's just about adapting, and I think that's something that we're definitely continuing to get accustomed to with John on our team. It's like trying to figure out, hey, like this is when we want to do this is when we want to do that. So overall, I agree with Wes. I think every team is really good at it now, but Infinite is an interesting title where you can have an advantage and you just can't actually press it as hard as I feel like you should.
Yeah.
You should be able to.
Does that make sense? Yeah, no, that makes complete sense.
I'm like rambling, so I want to make sure.
No, you're not rambling at all. Yeah. No, you're not rambling.
Like you're on live fire and you get overshield. Like in any other Halo, it'd be like, oh, I'll just push them. But in this game, it's like, maybe not. Like you do, but at the same time, maybe you don't. Like it just depends on the scenario, and that's a hard thing. That's a really hard thing to get down because you're in the heat of the moment. You're in the heat of the moment. You get an overshield. Like, which play do you make? You can go forward, you can go back, you can cut, you can do. And sometimes you get a great read and you make the right play, and sometimes you get the wrong read and you make the wrong play. You know,
it is part of the life of Halo Infinite. It's part of how it works and how gameplay looks. And I do agree with you. I think it is really difficult to figure out what the right risk is of an advantage, because it's often you don't talk about risk being with an advantage, but actually I do think in this game it does lend to actually which advantage do I want to push, because it's always going to be a risk because of the way that the weapon system works, the util that you have on the map. There's always something to combat an advantage, and I think that is what makes it so highly competitive, even at this level, and it really does start to shorten that gap of the margin of the best of the best, because there is almost like there's just a little bit less of a skill gap than in other titles. I believe.
And there's just more. It's like we've talked about it before, and I always say that, but it's just a different kind of skill gap. It's about who's the most coordinated, who's the most on the same page, who did their VOD review to be prepared for this scenario. And like, that's the big difference maker.
There's almost like a thing to be said in multitasking. Yeah. Like, you have to be good at multitasking in this game, like to figure out what you want to pick up, when that's coming up, where it's going to be, who has this, who dropped that, what team has that, there is so much to really recognize.
It's like, I'll give another scenario just to hopefully explain it ever so slightly better. It's like if we're on live fire strongholds and we're getting our kills, right? And we have A and C, let's say. Or let's say we have A, C, and B. Okay. One of the players spawns B, so you're like, imagine you just killed them at A.
Yeah.
They spawn B, so they're capping B. You're getting A. And it's like, okay, we should just push that guy. Right. Like 100%. We should push them. We just recap B. Then we go kill the guys over that are spawning probably towards the overshield. Yeah. Right. But it's like.
Or dummies.
Yeah. Or dummies. Exactly. And it's like, well, what if that player now who spawned there has a repulsor?
Yeah.
You're going to have a lot harder time of killing that one player. Well, you
actually have to be worried about that every time.
So it's like now it's like you're going to have a really hard time killing that one player because he can finesse his life, which then makes it so that the people who are spawning up can actually cut to him and kill you while you're trying. And it's like, it's just this timing and developing play. And in Infinite, it's obviously like, if you go to a game like Halo 3, you have 4 dead. What are they doing? Yeah. They're 4 dead. They're not getting anything on there. Like, there's no equipment in competitive Halo 3. you're just stuck. Like if you're on narrows and you're 4 dead, you're just spawning your base and you're just fighting out. That's the only play you can make, right? Yeah. In this game, it's like you spawn out and like you grab a plasma pistol, or you get a repulsor, or hey, maybe you got a grapple on recharge out of nowhere, and like now you can make these crazy, it's just,
you go from top gold to top BR in an instant, pretty much, and start relocating a massive fight and advantage in certain places with your team. There's a lot. Yeah.
I mean, again, like you just said, like recharge, we're pushing them back blue. One of their teammates spawns red. That's good. You have numbers. Yeah. Like you're going to push into blue. Well, the guy that just spawned red, he just grabbed the grapple and is soaring behind you.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a big adaptation. It's a big recognition of trying to figure out what you want to do in the right time. And, whoever makes the call, hopefully it's the right call.
100%.
But it's a complicated...
It really is.
I think complicated is probably the right word, but
that's the way to put it. Yeah, I think it's just so much more of like an overload of complicated dynamics within the game because of, a lot of the toys that are available on the map and what they do in terms of advantages for people. And yeah, you're right. I just think you don't have as much of a fundamental structure to gameplay in this title than you do in other Halo titles, which are kind of just like you get to just basically walk at a team and figure out where you're going to push and where you're going to go. You could literally have people in all sorts of different angles in this title doing all sorts of crazy things, and sometimes you just don't expect it, and it's like, it's a lot.
It's so funny. Is my brain, I just have lists of
situations and scenarios.
I'm sitting here thinking like, well, on Aqua, like, I'm trapped engine. You're going to push them. You try pushing them. They just start shocking the doorway. And it's like, well, okay, shit. Now we're on the back, it just, it's just different. It's not like, it's like, it's less individual. Like I said, it's less individual because I feel like of how the game plays out in terms of everyone is so good individually.
Yeah.
Some of that is, our players are unreal, and then some of that's the game is the game, and everyone.
Or being able to shock rifle the pads on King of the Hill on C and Whirlpool. Like it's just like
you get the disruptor and just
or shock rifle it and you just get kills, and you might not even see someone in there. You just do it. I remember Matt doing that on recharge. Remember Matt getting a couple kills by doing that doing the shock pads.
Yeah. I think he was with a shock, right?
He had a shock rifle, and he did it with a shock rifle. It's just like things crazy. Like that. You like as a player, you're on the hill. And how are you supposed to know that's about to happen? You can't even see them.
You're playing like you're playing you're playing recharge, and you're like, just cap C. It's a strong recharge, strong. Just cap C. Like they're all backed up at red and this, and then all of a sudden you just start getting shock rifled off the pass, and then they're soaring BR.
No, exactly. But and I think it's just like you said, it's a multitasking game, and it's somebody who's really good at multitasking will be great at the game. Who's heads up enough to go, I bet you they're on. I bet you. Like I've been given a call that they've ran back C.
Yeah.
Like they're probably going to be in the hill in a corner. Let me shock. It's just like there's a lot of moving parts to it. But away from the actual specifics of the game now.
Makes for fun Halo.
It does make for it. I gotta say, for a viewer experience, it is so fun to watch. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you.
No,
I have said this, and I will honestly die on this hill, but excuse the King of the Hill pun. With the shock rifle, I do truly believe that competitive Halo is keeping this alive for me. Like the actual competition, the esport itself, you guys playing to such an incredibly top level and keeping it, and the way that it is so close this season, every single time that we literally every event, I feel like see another game, another series that's better than the last one we didn't think was possible. Some of the stuff you see happen, like your repulse rocket, double rocket, like that was
at Charlotte
ridiculous. Like that was insane. That like double kill was disgusting. On pit, like there's just some really, really cool things that can come from it at a competitive level. So I think viewer wise it is so fun to watch. Like I have a blast watching it. Same. I really do.
I said as a player it frustrates the hell out of me, but then as a fan, I've had a great time watching. I watch so many other series that, like in a game like Halo 5, I just probably wouldn't have even glanced at. I know that sounds bad, but I'd be like, oh, like it's Envy versus, this up and coming M team. Like Envy's got that. You know what I mean? But like now it's like an Infinite. I'm like, I don't know. Like, you know, like it's going to be like, it's close, you know?
Yeah,
like
you just never, like, you honestly can get like
Jay's team. Like I watch all of Jay's teams at, like they play SSG. Like in a game like Halo 5, I'm like, SSG's going to just, no offense, SSG would just roll, you know, like it's like Splice. They would just beat everybody, right? Mm-hmm. But in a game like Infinite, I'm like, oh.
You see them take maps of great teams.
Yeah, they win Argyle 1-0, now they win the Slayer.
You see that from Cloud9, you see that from Complexity, you see that from ridiculous, you know, everyone can do it.
It's like I said, it makes for great Halo for the fans to watch, which I'm definitely a fan of.
I completely agree with you. I will say one really good thing about Halo Infinite right now is they've definitely upped their armor game, their shop game, like skins and stuff are looking really cool. I love the shoulder pads. I think they're sick. I really like them. Pads, they're really cool. They've definitely upped their shop game for sure in terms of skins and stuff. So that's nice to see. A little bit more color and stuff on the maps and some interesting things coming out. So that is nice. I want to ask you to round off the episode, something that I've been excited to ask you about, which is with your experience and long career that you've had, obviously at this point in the season, this is where it's really starting to matter. You know, I think a lot of people will look at your back-to-back win and your second place at Charlotte by a kill and a second. And, you know, again, a top 3 finish at SLC as well, as kind of like, okay, cool. But I feel like Worlds is where people remember everything. People, like last year, the first year, I mean, Cloud9, you know, formerly Cloud9, now SSG, I mean, they were so dominant at the beginning of the year, but no one really remembers that. No one really talks about that. We talk about it on the broadcast because it's something that we see, but I just don't see people talk about that often. What they talked about was Optic winning Orlando and then Worlds, and that was the last 2. But, you know, Cloud9 had way more wins than that, you know, so it's just interesting to see, like, the difference between the start and the finish, and the finish really is where it matters. In your experience, in your career, how do you start preparing for something like this mentally, not just like physically with you know, scrims and ramping things up with VOD review? Because like you guys scrim a lot, you guys do a hell of a lot of VOD review the entire year, but mentally, how do you start to really prepare yourself for like, okay, this really matters and I really care about how we do in the one before Worlds and at Worlds? Like how does that work for you?
I'm a bit different, where for me, I really try to have the same feeling for every single event. Is that actually going to be the case? Of course not. Like Worlds is always going to be like, you feel, you know, it's Worlds, you know, it's a world championship. But for me, like mentally, like I really feel like every tournament, it's just like, we got to go win it. Like we have to, we don't have an option, you know? And obviously like I've been better about taking the losses kind of on the chin and being like, okay, like I can still learn from this and we can get better from this. The only difference is just, I feel like Worlds is always going to feel somewhat like the end all be all, like you got to win that one. But preparation wise or mentally, I still feel like kind of in the same headspace where my prep is really the same and everything. I'm maybe watching a little bit more of other teams, you know, especially in this game or in this game in particular. I don't know, you know, does that make sense? Like I try to treat everyone like that's just always how I've been. We've talked about it before where like, I hate the feeling of like, I could have done more at a tournament. It's one thing I hated. Like when I think back to like my years in like MCC and just like when I was younger, like, you know, I really wanted to win, and I've always been that way. I wouldn't be where I am or where I've been if I wasn't that way. But like I just, when I look back on some of my previous years before Halo 5, I definitely left a lot on the table. And like when I think back to it, I'm like, oh, you're a moron. Like what were you doing? Like literally, like I was like so annoyed and mad about losing, but I'm like, but you're not even like going 100%. Like you know what I mean? Like I was in my mind, but like when I think back to it, I'm like, I do so much more now than I ever did, you know? I don't know. So not to be too cliche of an answer for me, it's just, it feels like just do the same thing you've been doing. Mentally just try to lock in ever so slightly more, you know? Yeah.
No, I totally get that. I think, you know, I just see how it could be pressurizing the last couple because, you know, Worlds is such a big deal to a lot of people. It's a huge prize pool. It really is that title that team, no matter how many wins you've had that season, carries with them.
Feels like you
know?
Yeah.
It's like, no matter what happened, you know, like, for example, if Native Red were to win the World Championship and they haven't won any events this season, they've won the World Championship, you know, and you don't question it. You just don't question it, you know? So it's like, I think it's that type of pressure that I'm talking about here. It's hard to handle, but the fact that, and I think it's what makes you have an edge is that you are good at handling that.
Yeah, there's always been a big debate on that of like, you know, is Worlds the same? I think we might have even talked about this a little bit. Like, is it like, would you rather have 5 wins on the year or 1? And the 1 is the World Championship. Most people would say the 1, you know, the World Championship. But it's like, it's just an interesting thing in gaming where we're having these major tournaments every couple months. Like, I don't want to say it doesn't lose its value at all, because it still feels like that for Worlds. But like, I don't know, it's just different. It's just different. Yeah. It's different compared to like sports where you have like the Super Bowl, like, you know, like the whole season led to this moment. Like, it's a weird, I don't know, it's just something that we deal with in gaming, isn't it? Like, it still has that impact. It still has that magnitude of like, you know, it's the World Championship. Yeah. But
well, I do feel like you could, this is what I think the comparisons, which is where it gets a bit weird, right? Is like, I think for a team like you, SSG and Optic, any team that has won this season. Yeah. I think you do have that, right? You win the World Championship, say, well, this season has led to this. If you've been consistently top 3 or top 4, whatever, I think it's like, it has led to that moment. You managed to do it for the World Championship. But for example, like if you have a team who has been placing top 6 regularly and had a Cinderella wonder boy moment of like, oh my God, I don't know what happened, we won. Yeah. You know, that is a different thing. It's not, I don't think you could approach it as much as like, oh, this season has all amounted to this moment. Like, you just had an unbelievable bloody run at the best time possible. But like,
it's still all amounted to that though.
Well, exactly. But that's, I think
all the hardships and everything led to that.
I know, exactly. But I think in terms of the NFL type of situation, I think that definitely leans more towards, I think, teams who have been consistently in the top 3 rather than a team who hasn't, if that makes any sense, in terms of that type of mentality over it. What's an interesting one for you, hypothetically? What would you be thinking in your head? And is it like, I don't know how else to put this, but hypothetically, if a team who has been placing top 6 for the whole year, but every World Championships for the next 2 World Championships wins the World Championship, even though they haven't been placing top 3 at all during the season. How do you think of that team? Where did your head go for that? Like, compared to a team who has been really battling top 3, got a couple of event wins in the season and wins 2 World Championships back to back. Where's your head at in the comparison?
Worlds back to back?
Yeah, so like,
yeah, I get it. They get top 6 and then they like just kind of win Worlds.
Yeah, and they've won Worlds back to back.
I mean,
but then had a shocker of a season in between.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't really think anything negative of it, especially in this game. I'm just like, well, that's just like, to me, like, I know it's, I just like, that's Halo Infinite. Like, wow.
Would you say that they would have been the best team in the world for 2 seasons?
I think that's where you have arguments of people debating stuff that is just kind of irrelevant to me. Right. Like, to put it bluntly, like, I want to be the best team in the world and I want to be known as the best team in the season. Yeah. I think you solidify that by winning tournaments during the year, and I think you solidify that by winning Worlds. But like, if a team were to win Worlds and someone said like, well, they're the best team because they won the last one, it's like, well, fair enough. You know, it's just about how you know how I am when it comes to the debating of stuff. I'm just like, well, like, it's about your criteria and how you feel and whatever, you know.
The reason I ask you is because for us on a broadcast, there's a lot, like always, especially towards the end of the season, we talk largely about consistency and consistency levels in terms of gameplay and in terms of, you know, placements. And it's a really interesting one because Worlds does lend itself to be able to have a team that has been not consistent at all win. Yeah. So it's a really interesting, I just find it such an interesting like mindset and kind of question about what you'd think if a team did the impossible. You know, for example, Jay's team. Yeah. You know, they're hoping to qualify for Worlds. They're hoping and they win. You know, I mean, that's the most ridiculous Cinderella story moment you've ever heard of in your life. That's amazing. And what an incredible storyline. But it does lend to like, is that the best team in the world to you?
EG is kind of like that. If we're talking about the VCT, this is Valorant. I just like the camera again. I've done that like 10 times this episode. I know we got to get off here soon, but EG went from being a team who I think they were winless in their league, if I'm not mistaken. I know we don't watch a lot of it. Like, I don't follow it that much. So I'm going, if you watch Valorant and you watch the tournament, maybe you could fill me in, but I think that they were winless and they like randomly picked up their sub Demon 1, who now is like argued to be the best player in the game. He's freaking unreal. We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
But, they had this like Cinderella run to, I think, even qualifying for champs, and then now they won the whole thing.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring that up is because I see people arguing of like, this Demon 1 kid, he is unreal, like one of the best. I mean, Valorant players, I don't watch a lot of Valorant, but in general, like I've watched it good enough to see his screen and go, Jesus Christ, like this kid is unreal, But what I was going to say is like, there's been some posts because he won Worlds of people being like, he is the undisputed best player in the game. And people are replying being like, you could say he's the best player, but like so-and-so had a great year. So-and-so had a great year. And I don't, some of them are people who've won other tournaments in the year. So it's just funny because it's kind of the same. It's kind of the same thing where they had this Cinderella run and they won. And like now you see the undisputed best. I don't have an opinion on it. I don't follow enough to know.
Because it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because the only main differences from Worlds, and I'm saying this in a Valorant sense and a Halo sense, is probably the prize pool and just the accolade. Yeah. But there's no actual other difference in terms of a tournament.
Some of the other players that were listed that people were like arguing, like they had won majors, like one of the guys on Fnatic, they won like back to back.
Well, exactly. And it's like, well, it's such an interesting thought, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's why I always say, I just leave it. It's just up to the person to decide.
Yeah, I think it's just it's one of those things where I think there is no actual true
There's no right answer. No.
It's what you feel,
there's
right?
There's no right answer and there's no wrong answer. It's literally what you feel and what you think.
It's an opinion thing. I'd like to know, I think this is a great conversation. I'd like to know what you guys think. I'm staring at the camera again. I'd like to know what you guys think about this and kind of how you feel about something like that, the Cinderella run, and what that actually means to you as a viewer, and what that actually means for the team and what you think it kind of stands for. Does it stand for being the best in the world compared to the rest of the majors and events in the year? And maybe a team has won more and maybe a team has been more consistent, but you have this crazy run at the end. What does that mean to you? And it's an interesting one.
Personally, I always feel like I could open a can of worms here, but I always
open the worms.
Well, no, I was just going to say, I'm going to talk about the players thing first, and I was going to go into like the goat debates and stuff like that. I'm not going to actually talk about it, but it is in a sense.
That's a hell of a can of worms.
It's about gaming, not about Halo or anything like that. But what I was going to say is I always feel like for me, it's just the way that things should be presented is always, I mean, yes and no, because I understand people like talking about at the end of a year, people are talking about the whole year. But like, I always just think like, you just say this tournament or my thought, my player is this, my best player is so-and-so. Like it's not the best, my best, does that make sense? And it's like, I always think this with like the GOAT when it comes to forget gaming. I think the same thing when you're talking basketball, football, this, that.
I think the only way it would be undisputed is if somebody literally does not lose.
Win like the whole year.
Win everything and be the absolute standout without question in terms of stats, the gameplay coming across the screen. Yeah. I think that's the only way it would be undisputed. But apart from that, I think you're right. It's your opinion.
Every player is so good.
I know.
And again, for like use the GOAT debate and forget gaming. Think of this as every single category of sport, any competition. Like I always hate the GOAT. It's just my GOAT. My GOAT is so-and-so. And it's because of this. Yeah. And it's like, because the people that someone else feels has that title. And it's the same thing with like best player in the game. Like, that's why I bring up the GOAT, but it's the same exact thing where it's like my best player in the game is so-and-so. And it's like, that's 100%. Like you're talking about one of the best players in the world, of course. But like, then like if you say, if another person names XYZ player on another top 3 team, how are you going to tell them no? You know what I mean? Like, and that's
makes sense.
Yeah. That's why I always think those debates are.
You know what though? Debates, opinions. Shall I tell you mine?
No.
You're my GOAT.
Oh, thanks.
Undisputed.
Baby. You're my
GOAT.
You're my GOAT, baby.
Well, folks, that is going to do it for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. I had a blast talking about all of that. It was really interesting. And honestly, it's sad. I've got a lot of stuff to do today. It's really set the tone for me. I'm feeling pretty like, I don't know, motivated after, you know, just talking through like all of that. It's really interesting. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Would love to hear your opinions on everything we talked about. It's a real conversational one today. And yeah, let us know, and we will be better at answering your comments or just having a chat with you guys as well and liking everything, just to show that, you know, we are here and we're looking and we're engaging with you all. We fly
love
tomorrow.
The community that we have.
Yeah, we fly tomorrow. We would have already flown by the time you watch this, but we fly tomorrow technically. So wish us luck at LAN. If you're a fan of Faze, wish them luck. If you're a fan of me, wish me luck. And if you're a fan of any other team, wish them luck into the universe, into the ether.
Let's all wish for no crashes on the weekend.
Yeah, pray. Pray for no crashes.
If you're a fan of Halo,
if you have any birthdays coming up right now and you guys are about to blow out a candle, can you wish for that? Yeah. That would be, you'd be doing us a solid.
I was just saying, because it was like, you know, everyone roots for different teams and stuff. I was like, but we all root for
the
just
no
a
crash.
fully functioning weekend.
Exactly. Yeah. It's what happens. It's technology. Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed. We love you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in every single week. We appreciate it greatly. And hope you have a fantastic week. Enjoy the LAN. Enjoy the weekend. I'll see you on the broadcast. PJ will see you on the broadcast as well. And as always,
stay on the grind.